We've done it. We finally broke the drought and beat the Denver Nuggets, and they were fully healthy. Their full starting lineup that won the championship last season took an L at the Staples Center. How did the Clippers hold Nikola Jokic to 9 for 32 from the field? Yeah, 9 for 32. Who were the standout performers for the Clippers? Let's talk about a big-time win on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You are locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA, and in my 19th season as a Clipper fan. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod and subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, where I went live directly after a game in which I was unfortunately not able to attend. I've missed the last two home games. They're the only two home games I've missed this season. And boy, were they some good ones. We're undefeated when I'm not there so far this home season. So maybe I should just stay home. Doubt it. We have a pretty good record at home right now, Clippers. 7-3 overall. 10-10 on the season now after a big win against the defending champion Denver Nuggets, a team in which they had lost 11 out of the last 12 games against, have kind of been their Achilles heel in the league right now besides the New Orleans Pelicans, and they got the job done in this one, 111-102. Bunch of brilliant performances from the Clippers all the way around. James Harden, the two big men, really good stuff from Paul George, Kawhi to close the game. Going to be talking about all of that. But today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to place your bets on anything. Basketball, football, hockey, don't matter. So let's talk about this one. It started out like it was going to be another one of those games against Denver. They were making every shot. They were 8 for 10 from 3. James Harden's defense in that first quarter was laughable. Kawhi had a blown rotation. We were switching 1 through 4. So we had Harden guarding Murray sometimes, Harden guarding Gordon sometimes, and Gordon scored on him twice. And it was a struggle in the beginning of the game. Michael Porter was on fire. Paul George himself wasn't that great in that first quarter either. I thought Kawhi was really the only player that I thought in that starting lineup was good in that first quarter. We lost it 36-21. But after that, we had one of the best quarters that we've had this season in that second. And it was the second quarter and fourth quarter, to me, that won the Clippers the game. 40-21 in the second, 32-20 in the fourth. Both of those, of course, in favor of your LA Clippers. How did it happen? Well, the beginning of the second quarter, Nikola Jokic was on the bench. And that's when the Clippers really made their run. And now I got to give a lot of credit to Ty Lue, who I thought coached a big-time game in this one. No Westbrook and Harden sharing the court together. Always had a big on the floor. No PJ Tucker. And then he had the adjustment of going zone against the heavy bench lineup of the Denver Nuggets. And mind you, Jamal Murray felt like he was still on a minutes restriction. He only played 29 minutes in this game. And last season, he was also coming off an injury last season. But he averaged 33 minutes a game last season. So expect him to be around that mark as the season progresses. 4 minutes. It doesn't feel like a lot, but it is a lot. And he actually shot pretty well in this game. 10 for 18. So he actually was causing the Clippers some damage. But the second quarter, when the Clippers went to a zone against a very bench-heavy lineup for the Nuggets, and mind you, in the fourth quarter, or I don't remember if it was the fourth quarter or the third, but in the second half, there was a lineup that the Nuggets had that was all bench players. Reggie, Julian Strawther, DeAndre Jordan, Christian Brown, and Peyton Watson. And I was I was shocked, to be honest, because their whole strategy usually is to have Murray and Jokic staggered. That's what they did in the playoffs. But because Murray, as I assume and feel like, is on a minutes restriction, they went with a total bench lineup. But what surprised me is they didn't have even KCP or Aaron Gordon in. I mean, Aaron Gordon, he played 31 minutes in this game. Kawhi and Paul George are playing 38 each. So that's 7 minutes with Aaron Gordon not on the floor. That's a difference. You better believe it. So the Clippers took advantage of all these things. And in the second quarter, going zone, it forced a team that got really hot from three with their starters to keep shooting threes, but with their bench guys. And those Denver Nuggets bench guys, a lot of them did not hit threes. Julian Strawther, who's a fantastic shooter, went to Gonzaga. He was 0 for 2 from 3, and those were all the shots he took in his 13 minutes. Christian Brown was 0 for 1 from 3. Peyton Watson was 0 for 2 from 3. So 0 for 5 between those three off the bench for the Nuggets. And the Nuggets bench, they scored a total of 28 points. The Clippers bench scored 37 points. And the Clippers won the game by 9. So, a lot of the difference there. Clippers winning it 111 to 102. James Harden in that second quarter, after a rough first quarter, he really was dropping dimes. I mean, every kind of dime you can think of. Good pocket passes in the pick and roll. As I mentioned in the last episode, the Nuggets are going to be a heavy hedge team with their bigs, meaning their bigs are going to come out to the level of the screen instead of drop. We saw a good mix in this game, and I thought the Clippers, for the most part, found the counters to just about everything, and that came with good decision-making from guys like James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George in the pick and roll. Harden had 4 turnovers, and they were all horrific just such bad passes, but he made a lot of great passes, and some passes that led to fouls that don't even show up on the stat sheet. And as I mentioned, when the Nuggets did go to the drop, they did a good job of rotating from the corner and taking away that roller. But what that leaves open, what they're conceding, is the corner shooter. And James Harden did a really good job of finding that man. One time Norman Powell in that second quarter pump faked. I don't remember if it was Peyton Watson or someone. I think it was Peyton Watson. He just flew by and landed in the Clipper bench, and Norman hit that 3. And then a really nice pass to Paul George, who came off a back screen. So a lot of fantastic dimes. Lob passes when guys weren't looking, face guarding their man. So James, he was putting on a playmaking clinic in that second quarter and also starting to look for his shot himself. Russell Westbrook, I thought he gave us some good energy when he came in directly in that first half, which was midway through the first quarter because, as I said, Harden had a rough first. But he didn't play more than that first, 6-minute stretch that he played in that first half, Russell Westbrook. So he only played that last 6-minute stretch in that first quarter, and that was it for his first half minutes, which I was kind of surprised at. But Harden did so well in that second quarter. And Paul George started getting in on the act as well. But I can't talk about this game without talking about the bigs. Zubac and Tice were absolutely incredible. For me, even though he only played 21 minutes in this game, Daniel Tice was my player of the game. I just thought his impact was incredible off the bench. He was blocking shots. He had active hands. Even at times, he was asked to guard on the perimeter, and he was doing a good job, spacing the floor pretty well, finishing, making solid decisions. Great hustle, high IQ play from Daniel Tice, who had 8 points, 11 rebounds, 5 of those offensive rebounds, and 3 blocks, and was able to guard Jokic well, even when he was conceding 4 inches in 21 minutes of play. And he was 2 for 4 from 3. 3 for 8 overall, but 2 for 4 from 3. He was a plus 14. I thought he was simply spectacular. And Ivica Zubac, what great form he's in of late. He was bodying up Jokic, playing great defense without fouling, had an amazing block at the end of the game that kind of stamped the authority on this win. He's been really good lately, finishing well, making decent reads in the short roll when he was given the opportunity. James Harden and Zoo, I've been saying it for the last couple of episodes, they're starting to build that connection. And Zoo, defensively, he just doesn't get enough credit in those good games. He doesn't, and this was phenomenal, one of his best. Now, granted, Nikola Jokic, let's keep it fair. He missed a ton of shots that he makes in his sleep. I don't know if he's making those left-handed hook shots he was taking. I've never seen him take those before this season, really. At least I can't think of it off the top of my head. And I've watched basically every playoff game he's played in his career. I think I've watched every playoff game he's played in his career. Actually, no, I didn't watch Game 4 and 5 of the Timberwolves series last year. But I watched every single other one, believe it or not. I've never seen him take that. But he didn't make either of them. However, those floaters, when Jamal Murray makes that pocket pass to him, because the Clippers were kind of in that high drop. You know they're always going to go drop coverage with Zoo. But they were in that high drop because you got to take away Jamal Murray's initial shot. And sometimes the rotation wasn't even there, and Jokic was just missing it off the front of the rim. I was watching it with my dad, and I was just like, every time Jokic missed these shots, I was like, we gotta win this game because this is not going to happen again. 9 for 32. 9 for 32. Now, granted, you have to give the Clippers credit for the way they defended, but Jokic is the best player in the NBA right now, and that's just not a typical night. He's not going to miss those shots all the time. But you know what I'll say? Another great thing Ty Lue did. He did not allow anyone else to switch on to Jokic besides the centers. And even if it did once or twice that I can't remember, it did not happen frequently. And that was a point of emphasis, clearly, and it was fantastic. Really proud of the boys. What a great win it was. 111-102. And coming up, going to be talking more about the difference of what made the Clippers win this game, and going to talk more about the individual performances of the Big Four coming up. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. As the weather gets colder, but if you're in LA or Southern California, not that much colder, and that's why it's great to live in Southern California, the NFL offers Stay Hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action, and I'm taking the Clippers over the Jazz, moneyline, and any other bet that you've got on. The game's on Friday, right? Yeah, Friday. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL or continue the NBA season. Kick off the NFL season. Get into the playoff push of the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right. Let's talk about the Big Four and how they played. Who should I get into first? Kawhi Leonard, I thought he was good, especially defensively. You know, one thing that's interesting is that other teams just really don't want to go at Kawhi. It's not interesting. It's for obvious reason because they know he's a good defender. So a lot of times, Kawhi will be quiet for stretches defensively. And that's because they just don't want the smoke. But Kawhi is always engaged defensively. He's communicating. He knows what he's doing. He rarely has any boneheaded mistakes or miscues communicating. It happens sometimes, of course. But he's on his P's and Q's. He has a real seriousness on that end of the floor 95% of the time that he takes an NBA floor. And I think that is leading by example in its own way. The thing I want to see more of, though, is Kawhi getting the ball and being aggressive. He needs to demand the ball more. I saw James Harden at times telling guys to get out of the way and clear out and make space for him to ISO. Kawhi Leonard can do the same. I liked what we were doing late in the game, going to that Murray or Harden Kawhi pick and roll, putting Murray in the action and making him switch on a Kawhi. That was working. Got us a couple of good looks down the stretch, and Kawhi hit 2 buckets in closing time of this one. But I want to see him more involved throughout the game. You know, in that fourth quarter, it was a while before he shot. And I still want Kawhi Leonard being that guy, because I believe if the Clippers want to win a championship, he has to be that guy. He has to be that guy that's getting the most shots, or at least, when he's shooting well, getting close to as many shots as Paul George, if not more. I thought Paul George, he continued, as the theme of this season has been with those two, he's been more aggressive looking for a shot. And it's in the wins that we've had, a lot of them Paul George has been fantastic. I wouldn't say he was fantastic in this one, but he was very good. And I thought defensively he was very good as well. The Clippers, the one thing, actually no, I'm going to save it for the final segment. I was going to say the one thing that concerns me. But 25 points, 8 rebounds for PG-13, 8 for 20 from the field, but 5 for 9 from 3, and he even said it after the game. He couldn't get his contested layups to go. Not easy, some of them, but his 3-ball was going. And late in the game, early in the fourth quarter, he hit some big ones. That one over Reggie Jackson, I think it was end of the third, was amazing to beat the shot clock. And then in the fourth, he had that one over Christian Brown, top of the key, and then coming off a screen, walking into a 3 with DJ in that high drop coverage. Paul George, big-time shot making in this one. And I thought James Harden, when he came back in the game for Russ, who had an amazing stint in the second half, he made some big plays, including getting to that loose ball and feeding Kawhi for the trail dunk, but also that floater snaking in that pick and roll. So Harden, you know what you like to see, and one thing I mentioned when we got Harden and saying one of the benefits was going to be, even though, of course, everybody knows I was against the trade. But right now we're seeing good things. Now, does that mean we're going to beat the Nuggets in the series, in a playoff series? I can't say that, but beating them is never a bad thing. It doesn't make me less confident. So we'll see. It's all about the playoffs, For people going back and forth about Westbrook, Harden, this and that, it's all about the playoffs. Right now, let's enjoy what we're seeing. And that's both of them playing well in this game. But Harden made some big plays in the fourth. And what I said, one of the benefits was that the third best player, Harden's getting the third best defender, right? So like Jamal Murray was guarding him a lot in this game. And I thought Harden was good looking for a shot. Created some space on him. Scored a couple of buckets. Drew secondary defenders. Because KCP and Aaron Gordon going to guard Kawhi and Paul. So that's a luxury of having that third star. Or fourth star if you think Russell Westbrook is still a star. Anyway, speaking of Russell Westbrook, thought he was really good in the second half. I mean, being aggressive, making some good passes, rebounding though. That's what impressed me more than anything. 8 rebounds, 4 offensive rebounds. Some of the rebounds he gets, just unbelievable athleticism. The way he gets off the ground, unreal. And I just felt kind of bad that he came out and only played 16 minutes when he was 9 points, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks. Amazing block he had on Christian Brown on a putback layup attempt. 4 for 8 from the field. I didn't like the 2 threes he took. Both of them were in the corner and they weren't wide open. I think he should only take wide open threes. He can do without them. He really can. We can get a better shot. He can move the ball. I'd rather him try to get an easy bucket in the post. Anything but that, to be honest. Just wide open corner threes. But I thought his effort was unbelievable. The energy he brought to the table. Should have had an and one when he drove at Christian Brown. Had some good stuff with Tice. I just hope that Russell Westbrook can continue to be satisfied even in games like this, where he plays well. He doesn't get as many minutes as you might say he deserves, but it is what it is, and we're winning. And he knows he has a good chance of winning a championship. I wasn't at the game, so I can't tell you how his body language was, but from what I saw on TV, not too high, not too low, seemed in pretty good spirits, and I'll take that. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, thought they all did their thing, but I think the difference was Jokic playing like garbage for his standards. He's not a triple-double, that's the funny part. But 9 for 32, he was missing everything. And the fact that Michael Porter Jr. just didn't get that many shots after the first quarter and he was 7 for 8 in the game, that was wrong by the Nuggets. They should have looked to get him the ball more, especially with how easily he can get his shot off over anybody. You got to feed the hot hand sometimes. I know Jokic and Murray is unstoppable, but tonight it was just an off night for them, but a great you got to credit the Clippers centers. I mean, they deserve the most credit for me. Just the way they defended. And Ty Lue, enabling them to actually always stay in the game, always having one of them in. That's massive. Absolutely massive. So that was the difference for me. And of course, this applies to the game that we lost to the Nuggets in the second game we had Westbrook. But I noticed in that game, having Russ put some pressure on Jamal Murray to guard more so. Because, as I said, KCP and Aaron Gordon, they're going to guard Paul George and Kawhi. Having Murray have to guard James Harden or Russell Westbrook as opposed to Reggie, that can be a challenge. And that'll take its toll, even though Murray played well, but that'll take its toll. It makes him work. But yeah, coming up though, concerned at all? Were there things I didn't like? Going to be talking about those because I don't think it was perfect coming up. I got to tell you a little something about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best daily fantasy sports platform in North America. With basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League, a league created specifically for combo projections that includes 2 or more players from different sports or leagues. For example, you can take Tyrese Halliburton's more on his assists and Travis Kelce with the more on receptions. You can even play alongside some of Prize Picks' favorite players like Meek Mill and Andrew Schultz. And the community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community every week. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Just go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. All right, Clippers getting maybe their best win of the season, definitely in that top 3 alongside the game against Sacramento on the road and the win against Dallas, even though the Clippers were on the second night of a back-to-back. This one beating the defending champs, a team that we had lost 11 out of the last 12 games against, is a big one. 111-102 at the Staples Center or Crypto.com Arena, whatever you want to call it. 86% attendance, though. That concerns me. That concerns me a bit. It's the defending champs and everybody was healthy. Come on, guys. Let's get to the games. That includes, I was busy. That's so hypocritical. I wasn't at the game. But I literally had something to do for work. But, if you can get to the games, guys, get to the games. And it's funny because the Lakers, for their in-season tournament game, I checked, they had 98% attendance. They didn't even sell that out. So, LA fans got to do a little better right now. Laker fans, the tickets are outrageously expensive. But Clipper fans, come on. The tickets are not that expensive. But hey, am I concerned about anything at all besides attendance? I'm not actually concerned about attendance. It's surprising to me that we wouldn't even have 90% against in a matchup of that magnitude. There might have been a level of Clipper fans thinking, oh, it's the Nuggets, I don't want to see us lose. But if that was the case, shame on you, man. You got to believe. James Harden was awesome in this game, playmaking. 20 points, 11 assists. But I have one concern. And it has nothing to do with the one that everybody has with him, which is defense. When he plays well and he's doing really well playmaking and making shots, keeping the defense honest and whatnot, that's really good. The only thing I'm a little concerned about, and I know a lot of fans will disagree with me on this, especially the ones that are really pro Harden, I still don't want to just become a Harden team. I still think this team needs to be Kawhi Leonard centric to some degree. He needs to have the ball a little bit more. And sometimes Harden can dribble a little bit less. A lot of it's on Ty Lue, though. He's the play caller. But I don't want extended stretches where Kawhi is not shooting. You know what I'm saying? Or touching the ball. And part of that's on Kawhi. He needs to demand the ball. But Ty Lue as well. We need to look to get him the ball. That's my one concern. I don't know if it's necessarily Harden's fault. It's not a Harden thing. It's more coaching staff and Kawhi. I don't want Harden to be like the first option. If we win, it doesn't matter, but I just don't believe in the playoffs that's the way to have Harden so much. I think there's a better balance to be found. My other concern, Westbrook. He's happy now, it seems, but is he willing to buy into this over the course of a full season? Will he have fun doing this? Because one thing about Westbrook, he always emphasizes the fun. There was that famous quote, win, lose, or draw, just have fun, that everybody made fun of him for saying. But it is, at the end of the day, if you're not having fun in what you're doing, like, what's the point? So I'm hoping that he's still enjoying this and will continue to enjoy this as the season continues. My other concern is Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. They're playing a lot of defense. They're working hard on that end of the floor. They obviously have their offensive responsibilities, and they're playing every game, which I love. 20 games into the season, that is awesome that they've played every game. And I'm going to keep on knocking. Keep on knocking, ladies and gentlemen, because it's working right now. But I'm proud of those two for playing the games. And you know what? Making no excuses about it. Playing hard on both ends of the floor for the most part, almost every night. Especially Kawhi. Defensively, there are very few games where I'm like, yeah, Kawhi didn't show up tonight defensively. He wasn't trying on D. I rarely ever say that about Kawhi. Almost never. So he still does his thing. He shot very efficiently, 8 for 16. But 17 points? I want Kawhi to average 25, 26 points a game, not because I care about his stats. Everybody knows I'm not like a Kawhi stan, of course. But I do believe that the way eventually is Kawhi being the guy. But I'm not mad at James Harden and Paul George. James being the guy that kind of dictated this game with his double-double. And also 3 steals. So as the game went on, doing a good job defensively off the ball. Also, he's been shooting really efficiently. 60% from the field in this one. 6 for 10, 2 for 3 from deep, 66%. So I like how he didn't force the threes, and he got to the basket a little more, got to the foul line as a result. 6 for 7 from the line. Good game from Harden. Kawhi, 17 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, and a block on 8 for 16 shooting. 1 for 3 from deep. Didn't get to the line, though. So you'd like to see Kawhi just be a little more aggressive, especially if he's going to play 38 minutes. He only shot 3 times in the third quarter, and he played the whole quarter. So I don't want to see that personally going forward. But as I said, if we win, it's okay. I just believe there's a different way. It's going to take that going forward in the playoff type setting. Paul George, I really got no concerns right now. He needs to keep being aggressive. Just play smart basketball. Continue to play good D. He's been fantastic to start this season. I've said fantastic way too much in this episode. Ugh. But the Clippers, big time win. Other performances to shout out. Terrence Mann, I thought he played good defense in the second half, but Ty Lue just didn't play him that much. 20 minutes. And he's got to prove it, shooting the ball and shooting with confidence. He didn't shoot any threes in this game. He only passed up, I'd say, 1 or 2. He was 1 for 2 from the field, and it was a tough shot falling way to his right on a 3 that he passed up. But overall, even though the plus-minus suggests otherwise, I think Terrence was still good because defensively, he's always going to add. He's never going to, in my opinion, take away. Because, you say you play Kawhi and Paul George more on these guys. I think eventually over the course of an 82-game season, that could tire them out. So that's one of my concerns as well, is Paul George and Kawhi are guarding a lot. Mixed with the fact that they're playing every game and they have their offensive responsibilities, can they continue to do that throughout the season? I'm hoping they can. But right now it's going well. Clippers defense looks pretty good. Honestly, the defensive effort has just been very serious from the Clippers. From before the trade to after the trade, even the games that we were struggling in the trade, for the most part, the defensive effort has been pretty good. We've just had some duds, but it's looked a lot better, especially since Terrence Mann has started. And if it's a Zubats in this last 8-9 game stretch, he's been fantastic. Again, I said it. Oh my God. I need to end it on that note. Jesus. Need to up my my adjective game. Anyway, before I forget, Norman Powell. I haven't mentioned him at all. Shame on me because I thought he was great. He had the highest plus minus of any Clipper player, any player in the game actually. Aggressive attacking closeouts, getting downhill, good in transition, had a nice little Euro step in the second half, and finishing around the basket, getting to the line, 6 for 6 from the line, 5 for 12 in the game, 1 for 3 from deep, being very aggressive, putting pressure on the defense. 17 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal, and was part of that second unit early in that second quarter. That made a big difference for the Clippers and swung the momentum completely back in their favor. Because the Nuggets, they led by as many as 15, 36-21 at the end of the first. And for the Clippers to outscore them 40-21 in the second, just restored order. And from then on, they played good basketball the rest of the way. So a huge win for the Clips. Let me know in the comments if you think it was the best win of the season. Of course, subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you know every single time we post a video. We're trending upwards. 10-10 now, finally at 500 for the first time since 3-3. 7-3 with this starting lineup. 7-8 with Harden. So we're almost 500 with Harden. And yeah, trending in the up direction. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more Clipper content. And, of course, Locked On Clippers. You can listen wherever you get your podcasts. Hope you enjoyed the show. Let me know anything you want to see me do, talk about, feedback, constructive criticism, anything. I'm always open to hearing it. I want to improve. Thank you for joining us, or me. The age-old proverb continues. Go Clippers. Big freaking win, baby.